All right, so let's talk about Trump's attorney general pick, which of course remains a focus on Capitol Hill. The House Ethics Committee was deadlocked about releasing its report into former Congressman Matt Gaetz, but there are members on both sides of the aisles that want to see it. Reese Gorman is a political reporter for NOTUS, and he joins us now to discuss. Okay, so let's talk about what's next for Matt Gaetz. What's so interesting about this whole process, Reese, is how many people, not just, certainly there will be Democrats who find Matt Gaetz distasteful, but there are also a lot of members of his own party who don't really like this guy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he didn't have a lot of friends to begin with, and then after ousting former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, that kind of lowered and kind of lessened his allies in the House for sure, and also in the Senate. I mean, if you remember the comments from Senator Mark Wayne Mullen that he said that are kind of out there, that he used to kind of snort medicine and chug it with energy drinks. I mean, these are the types of things that people don't like about him, and they want to see what's in this ethics report. I know Representative Derek Van Orden said that he would be voting for a measure that would force the House Ethics Committee to release the report. And he is an extreme Republican from Wisconsin, and so these are just kind of the friends or not friends that Matt Gaetz has right now on the Hill.
So when it comes to Matt Gaetz, some of the allegations that are being made sound potentially very serious. In fact, some of them sound illegal. This was a Congress that made a big deal about President Biden's son, Hunter Biden's laptop, and how they wanted to see the contents of that laptop. Certainly there were some who fought that on the Democratic side, but I wonder what the appetite for Republicans writ large is to see that report and to see that report made public.
Yeah, I've reported myself that there are a handful of Republicans, a good amount actually, that do want to see that report. They want to see what's in it. Now, obviously, the allegations he's facing that he has denied, I will note, that he had sexual relations with a minor, sex trafficked her, and the Ethics Committee is also investigating that he participated in illicit drug use as well. These are things that have been reported, and this is also the claims that the women have made to the Ethics Committee, and they want to see what's in their report. Now, on the other side, there are other members, which I've also reported, that don't want to see what's in this report. They do not think that this report should be released. They do not think it's noteworthy. They think it's a political hit job, and they don't want this released. Now, there does seem to be some members of the Senate Judiciary Committee that do want to see what is in this report, or they think that it'll come up in FBI background checks or come up through the confirmation process. But all in all, there are a good amount of Republicans do think that what's in this report should at the very least be given to the Senate Judiciary Committee for his confirmation hearing.
Yeah, fascinating. All right, Reese Gorman from NOTUS. Thank you very much, Reese. Appreciate it, my brother.
Thank you.